Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Today we are kicking off the seasonal color palette or personal color palette series here on my channel with Deep Winter. The Deep Winter color family on the seasonal flow chart is going to sit between Deep Autumn and True Winter. Deep Autumn is going to share the richer depth of color that Deep Winter will have. Autumn is going to have more of those warm orangey colors. Winter will have more of those cool, icy, sultry colors. On the other side, you will have our Deep Winter and True Winter. True Winter is going to have a nice, bright iciness to it. There is a clarity within the colors. It doesn't have the same rich sultriness that the Deep Winter color palette will have. When we're looking at our general characteristics for Deep Winter, the Deep Winter color family has one of the largest ranges of skin tones, going from very, very fair to deep, dark, richer skin tones. Hair colors tend to be more on the richer, deeper side, going from brown, auburn, all the way to black. There's a nice richness to it, but there's also a little bit more of a coolness to it. Eye colors tend to be on the darker side, ranging from deep, almost navy blues to dark grays, your rich, cool hazels, dark browns that almost look like they're going black. You'll also notice a lot of winter color families will have a distinguishable feature, which almost looks like there is a border of a darker, richer color around the iris, which really separates the iris or the color part of the eye from the white of the eye, creating that beautiful contrast that we see within the winter color family, specifically in our Deep Winter color family. My top picks for Deep Winter celebrities would be America Ferrera, Anne Hathaway, Lucy Liu, Priyanka Chopra, Lupita Nyong'o, and Zachary Quinto. You'll notice when you look at them, there is a striking contrast between their skin tone, their eye color, and their hair color. There's a little bit more of this kind of sultriness to their coloring. There's a lot of contrast, even though everything appears very organic. It's their je ne sais quoi. You can't quite place what it is. Their coloring, their features are just quite striking. There's almost a sultry elegance to them. Let's jump into creating this kind of classic Deep Winter makeup look. To start my look, I'm going to prime my eyes using my Hourglass Veil Eye Primer. This step is just going to ensure the shades that we apply to our eyes last all day long. To create my Deep Winter everyday eye look, I'm going to be using the ColourPop of Quartz palette. And when I was going through my collection, this really stood out to me as a great neutral palette for Deep Winter, as you have a great range of different neutral shades. They have some depth, they have some contrast. Other than the shade In the Zone, nothing has too much warmth. So to lay a base down, I am going to be using a Real Techniques flat shader brush. I am going to go into the shade CO. This look is going to be kind of like a simple everyday smoky eye. So I'm going to start by just pressing this color on my lid, making my way from inner corner to outer corner and just up to my socket line. If the color that you're using doesn't have quite enough intensity for you, or you want to create a little bit more of a gradient, go back in with the second layer, focusing at the lash line where you want things to be the darkest, and then work your way up. To keep my edges nice and soft, so building the eye look is as easy as possible, I'm going to use my Makeup by Mario EF2 blending brush. And I'm just going to use this just to go around the perimeter of the eye look and just back and forth, adding in some circular motions and just diffuse the edge. In the shade Magmatic, pressing this shade right over our lid, it's just going to add a little bit of a sheen. You want to keep this slightly lower than the previous shade, as that's going to help create more of a contoured, shapely look to your socket without having to add on another step. And I'm going to add a second layer just for a little bit more impact. Let's pull into those moody, Deep Winter feelings by adding some structure to the eye. For that, I'm going to be using a black eyeliner pencil. I'm using the Onyx shade from Estee Lauder. I want to keep almost a border on this upper lash line to keep everything looking a little bit more striking. Since my eye is slightly more downturned, I like a little bit of a softer edge to the eye to keep it a little bit more hazy, so that way I'm not drawing any additional attention to anything I might not want to emphasize, like a slight downward turn. If your eyes are slightly hooded, this is going to make things a little bit more hazy to open the eyes up a little bit more. When choosing a mascara for a deep winter color palette, look for a black mascara, preferably the most inky, richest black, as that will play into that high contrast between the whites of the eyes and the lashes. Give the eyes one more soft go around. We're gonna move on to the face, get the rest of the base makeup on, and that way we can start to see our final look, see what we need to add to create that beautiful, striking contrast that the Deep Winter color palette has. For my primer, I'm going to be using the NYX Bear With Me base. This is just a nice jelly base that's great for hydrating the skin, adding a nice plumpness to it. Rare Beauty foundation. This is in shade 140C, and I'm just going to apply foundation like normal. To add additional coverage, I'm going to go in and use the Rare Beauty concealer, also in shade 140C. And I like to take a beauty sponge just to press everything in, make sure everything is meshed with my skin. Now I want to move back to the eyes and finish off our lower eyes. So I'm going to be setting the under eyes with the IT Cosmetics Bye Bye Pores Loose Powder. Repeating our steps in the lower lash line, I'm going to start with that Real Techniques flat brush and go into the shade CO. You can either keep it right here on the outer corner or take it all the way in, whatever you feel like best suits your features. Go back to your blending brush, give that a nice kind of smoothing. Now we're going to go back to our eyeliner pencil, and again, you can either add just a little bit on the outer corner, you can line all the way across, whatever best suits you and your personal preference. Once you have your liner on, I like to then take the same eyeshadow brush, that flat brush, and just smudge over it. I like to keep the under eye a little bit softer, a little bit more hazy, as it tends to be a little bit more flattering to more people and more eye shapes. I'm going to take a rougher number 15 in the zone, and then I'm going to buff over the entire lower lash line. I let my application get a little messy out here because I want to show you how easy this is to clean up. Take whatever moisture is left on the remover pad that you used to clean up any fallout, and then just press over any little blending boo-boos, and then we can go back and patch up our concealer. And once you have everything blended to your liking, go through, give it a set. For adding shape and warmth and dimension to a deep winter seasonal color palette as with makeup, it's a little tricky. Bronzing powder isn't something that is normally best suited for the deep winter color palette because they have a little too much of that reddy orange warmth, which is more towards the autumn side. However, contouring can do a similar effect for a deep winter. You just want to make sure you're using a product that is absent of any warm orangey colors. I'm going to be using the V shading powder. This is from Peri Para, and I'm using the shade 03 Hazel Gray, and I'm using a little Peri Para brush. I'm not going as low as I would for contour, but I'm not going as high as I am for a bronzer. I'm going to take it right in between, almost as like a bronzer contour hybrid, or some people call it a brontour, and I'm just using this to add a little bit of subtle shape and a hint of a color to the skin, and really focus on the perimeters of the face. This will act as like almost like a transitional tone from the color of your complexion to the color of your hair. We want to add some glow to the skin. Elf small taper brush. Now I'm going to go into my Natasha Denona Super Glow in Fair. For lips, Deep Winter is a high contrast, cooler undertone, as we've already discussed. That can make it tricky. If you look for a more subdued lip color that has too much beige in it, it's gonna almost drain the life from the complexion. It's gonna feel off. If you choose something that's too light and too pastel, it's not going to enhance your features like some of the other colors will. Look for those cool colors that have a little bit more body to them, but a sheerness in their opacity. So you can go anywhere from your cool reds, pinks, purples. Especially, our eyes are very, very neutral. So that means your lips are key to wearing whatever else you want. Intense Liquid Mood Glow. This is the shade 01 Prime. Once you have your lip color on, it might feel a little intense. Let's add some blush because blush will help to bridge the colors together and make things feel more at home, more like there's more harmony in the skin. For blush, I'm going to be using the color called Secret from Sydney Grace. I'm going to keep this more towards the front of the cheek and just use that layer right over the highlight shade that you applied. So now that you have everything on, if you feel like the lip and the eye are still too much for you, if it's just a little too out of your comfort zone, take one of your favorite pale nude lip colors. This is the shade Laissez-Faire from MAC's Love Me Lipsticks. And by doing that, you're going to kind of neutralize or mute the lip color so that way there's not as much competition with the eyes. Deep Winter is quite opposite of my coloring. I fall more into the soft summer category, which is still a cooler undertone, but that color family is more muted. There's lower saturation or lower chroma. So even with a look like this, it's very intense. On a true deep winter, this would look almost naturally effortless. I'm going to soften up my lower lash line, take my blending brush, Transform, which is the shimmery shade right here, and I'm going to use this shade as a liner for the lower lash line. The light reflection will make it look a lot less stark, but still give you that contrast, which will go with the overall color palette. So this is going to be our finished deep winter look, focusing on higher contrasting tones and elements within the makeup while staying more on that cool, leaning, neutral, cool family as far as our undertones within the colors. This is not the only type of look you can wear, but it's kind of more of the classic deep winter makeup look where you have a lot of focus on the eyes. It's gonna really pop the rich color of the eyes and really make the whites of the eyes stand out. You have a nice kind of rosy, brightening lip color. It's those subtle nuances that you will see really makes the deep winter color family just come alive, just look so effortlessly fresh within their coloring when they're using the correct colors for them. If you found this look helpful, make sure you give it a thumbs up, share it with a friend who you think might fall into the deep winter coloring, and stay tuned because we are going to be doing the other 12 seasonal color palettes one by one over the coming weeks. I will see you all in the next video. Bye y'all.